On one side, you see organizations laying off people. As soon as you log into LinkedIn or any of the news channels, this has been a common topic about people getting laid off or organizations laying off because of whatever reasons. And on the flip side, if you look at these organizations, they're also hiring. Have you ever had this question? Why exactly organizations do fire and also parallelly hire? So that is the topic that we're going to talk today. Hey, if you are watching this video for the very first time, my name is Gautam Telugu and I talk about careers and things surrounding that, and I also talk about some related topics specific to Canada. Consider subscribing. I'm trying to bring in some interesting content. So it's a win-win. Your journey, my story. So I'm going to talk very specifically about Canadian markets because that's where I belong here, and I've predominantly spent my time in India. So I'll try comparing that. And US is also similar because when I was in India, I was working with relatively US related aspects as well because that's how the work was flowing, and a lot of things that I had to keep myself updated because of US markets, because anything that happens there also impacted India. So that's how I'm eligible to talk about all these three markets together. So those are my key focus areas. I don't have much view on the European market, so may not go into it unless I have done some sort of research. In the Canadian context, it's very true. You might have heard about it. A lot of people are in the retirement zone, which is undeniable fact, right? So a lot of people who are on the almost one-fifth of them are in the retirement zone. And obviously people need, of course, some of the provinces are on the higher side of it, maybe 2 out of 3 kind of thing as well. So definitely this country needed immigration. And I think it availed those benefits for a very long time. In the last 5 years, I think it's been significant. A lot of people did move with whatever opportunities that they've had. They brought in a lot of talent, and a lot of things which are good did happen, and a lot of things which are not good also happened for whatever reasons. So always in any scenarios, good and bad will always be part of it, right? So you cannot just expect only good to happen and not bad unless you're really doing a wrong or using a wrong strategy. Obviously things can go worse as well, so I don't think so anybody would want to get into a worse situation. So anyway, while I'm saying all of those things are true, but why are layoffs happening, especially in Canada, where you often hear that there is a labor shortage and we needed people, and all of those stories that are coming up for quite some time. And layoffs are happening not just because they don't need people. They are happening because of some technological advancements. Like automation is one of it, obviously, and we've been talking about automation for maybe more than 6 to 7 years now, and we've had those process automation softwares that have been launched, which were helpful in making some redundant tasks automated and all of that stuff. And a lot of changes did happen, of course, and people, especially the organizations, have been leveraging all of those areas. The recent past, especially, I think there have been also a lot of budget cuts, which also influence these colleges and university also to cut down on people because of less interest in their colleges and university, because of international students and the enrollments getting reduced and all of that stuff. And that is also a contributing factor for some of these institutions to lay off people. Obviously, when there are less students, you don't need many staff or faculty, right? So obviously that's one of the aspects to it. And with all of these elements, organizations try to restructure as well, right? So every 5 years, at least, that is expected timeline. An organization is required to look at where we are and how or what we want to be in the next 5 years. So in those scenarios, restructuring does happen. And during those episodes of restructuring, these kind of layoffs are typically bound to happen. So that is something that you might see. And also, we've been seeing companies like Google, Meta, and Microsoft are also laying off people, and it's all because they overhired people in the pandemic time because they've seen growth and they needed more hands, and they recruited a lot of people around. And now, when they look into the future, they thought rather, they don't need as many as they needed yesterday. And that was also a contributing factor to reduce the number of people who work in those organizations. And also, with all of these, cost control is also an aspect to it. Whenever cost comes into a discussion, organizations think cutting down people is the best thing to do rather than anything else. While they say they are intending to do, or rather they have done everything possible before touching on people, in some cases, in majority of the cases, that may be true, but in some cases, they see cutting down people is the best optimal way to save costs and run the organizations. And that is how layoffs are typically happening even in the current scenario. Now, let's understand when they say skill shortages or labor shortages, and what exactly do they mean by that? In Canada, especially if you hear about labor shortages, they don't mean labor shortages across the board in any skill set or any organization for that matter. They're typically talking about only two to three key sectors, which is about healthcare. That's been the topic since pandemic time, or even more beyond that, where healthcare needed more nurses, more doctors, and all of that support staff and all of it. Right, so that's a key sector where labor shortages are there because it's so difficult to get an appointment in Canada, and there have been long waiting times as well. And the second one in trades, and Canada needed to build more homes, and there's a lot of construction workers requirement, and a lot of specialty trades people that are required and essential for those things to happen, for those projects to get closed. And obviously, unless somebody get to study or come somewhere from somewhere else, they don't get to contribute into that industry. So that's where they say labor shortages, because if you have less people, it takes more time to build things. So it is also one of the key sectors where shortages are true. And information technology, well, we know there are a lot of people in very broad areas. If you take about a business analyst, there are a lot of people. Project management, there are a lot of people, but IT also needed specialists, and AI is taking over thing, right? So it's there everywhere. Everyone talks about it. The moment you ask any industry person what is that trending thing within your domain or technology, they talk about AI and nothing else, right? So it's there, and a lot of people needed to have those capabilities now. And in the past, we talked about SAP. In the past, we talked about Oracle. In the past, we talked about cloud. And now we're talking about AI. And people are required in that particular stream as well. And tagging along the cybersecurity, which is now AI is going to be there. How do people protect themselves from any of the breaches that might happen potentially in the AI zone? So that is also important. So that is more specialized, unless if you are coming from a very generic sort of a IT skill, maybe you might take a little longer to get a job, but that is not your primary skill set that any organization might be looking at, unless you are super specialized on a particular area. And the fact is, a lot of immigrants who have come in, predominantly that I have seen, if I go to a career fair, I have seen people walking into those to have conversations, and everybody wanted to get into finance, or everybody wanted to get into a sort of administration or a customer service sort of a thing. So there are ample of people out there in those zones which do not make them specialized or which do not make them unique. So that's where, while you have a lot of talent or significant portion of people sitting in some pockets of it, critical aspects are the ones which are lacking on resources, but not many are getting attracted from the immigration side of it. And so, what does this all mean to you? When people say there are jobs, or when people say there are labor shortages, doesn't mean that there are jobs which are only related to you. Right? There are jobs in key sectors, and there are jobs in regular sectors as well. The regular sectors, you have to be really unique, and there is a high competition there. And if you are not trying to be a value creator for yourself, obviously getting a chance might be too difficult unless you have to create a platform for yourself. So that's exactly why you see layoff stories that are popping up, and you also see hiring or also hiring maybe happening in key sectors where there are where the resources cannot be interchangeable, right? So I may not be able to go. I'm part of HR. I may not be able to become a financial advisor or financial. I cannot become a financial expert because I don't have the background or the domain experience or whatever, right? So if I'm being laid off, I cannot be put into a finance role, and vice versa. Maybe possible. And the finance guy might be able to do my job with a bit of a training, and the learning curve could be a little longer, but ideally they are trainable, they could do it. And I've seen a lot of CPAs who were into tax and have played roles in human resources, but I have not seen the other way around where HRs getting into finance roles unless they have really flip the game in pursuing a CPA or any of the financial courses. So yes, Canada's workforce is shrinking for sure, and there are layoffs happening, and there are also hiring which is happening, but especially in the critical sectors. And if you are really a new graduate that is coming up, or if you are in the early 20s and you're trying to come to Canada, or you're already in Canada, identify what are those critical sectors, what are those jobs which are going to be on demand the next 5 to 7 years at least, right? So that is going to be a stepping stone or your foot that you need to put into. And that is going to be your pathway to get into and see how you could get the job as soon as you graduate. And if you're still in India or any other country for the matter, ask yourself, is this what you want to do? Is this where you want to do? Is this where you want to get into? And I'm not saying everybody should take trades or everybody should take healthcare, and that is also going to be overpopulated. But spread your wings. If you're coming to Canada or you're already in Canada and you like only engineering, so then you have to probably create your value proposition and see how you're unique among several others. So that is going to be the key for you. So